thought I'd make a video on these Douglas Dynamics poly hoppers, Fisher Polycaster, Western Tornado, and Blizzard Ice Chaser. I don't know if there's any more, but they only give you two options for heights for the spinner. You got this high height, which is, you know, safe for backing into banks and stuff like that, but because if I go lower, it's just too low, especially with you know, when the thing's full of sand. I put 2 yards in and I leave the lids open and I heap it right over and it's 2 yards. It's a 1.5 yard unit. So in the high position is a little too high. It's getting my lights and stuff dirty, and it's too high. And then the low position, I don't know if it's like 16 inches maybe. It's just too low. So I figured out a way to do it like a mid height. So I'm gonna, you know, merge some videos together and figure this out here. So in my quest for figuring out a middle height position for the spinner on these poly hopper units, I notice, so the gate, the feed gate, has different settings. So my point is essentially, you know, this is supposed to be wide open, which is position what, 7. So let's say here 1. You know, closed is not fully closed. I think sand can still get through, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7's wide open. But essentially, I'd argue that 5 is wide open because the linkage here, if you look for the bottom of the actual hopper, the red, you see the slop here, the hole in this rod is bigger than this cotter pin. So this can move quite a bit without the rod spinning. So if you look at, I mean, when the sand's coming out of there, you're gonna tell me that this doesn't, oh, see the red there? I mean, you're in pretty level right there. You're essentially, you know, I mean, you wanna argue that this stays there and doesn't move, it's not much of a difference. But I'd say that, you know, the sand's pushing that back as it's feeding out. So 5's wide open. So what I figured out, so you hang it by here for the lower position, and you hang it by here for the upper position, right? So it hangs on this crossbar here that controls the linkage for the gate, which is actuated by this. So I'm gonna remove this bar, and it's now gonna hang by this hole. And I'm just gonna put pins here, and then Douglas Dynamics already drilled holes here and here. You know, you used to pin down here. That was a quick pin. These things, right? Used to locate down here. So now, rather than hanging from an upper point and then pinning down here, I'm gonna hang from a lower point and then pin at the top. So what I had to do is, I'm not gonna be able to actuate the chute anymore. It'd be cool if you could relocate this pin, but the line of sight goes through, and then the gearbox is in the way. But no big deal. I never use this thing. It's worthless to me unless you go from like salting, which I think you need a lower gate position, and all of a sudden you're sanding or something like that. But we always have conveyor speed, and so somewhere is happy medium. So anyway, so I'm gonna take this linkage off, and what I did, I couldn't drill through this stainless steel shit. That was just impossible. I burned up 2 drill bits. So I drilled a hole in here, I think it was a number 25 bit for like a 1024 screw, and this is stainless hardware, a big fender washer, and then a little number 10 washer, a 1024 by, I think it's a 1/2 inch screw. So it's just sandwiching the corner of this aluminum stainless angle on both sides, and I was able to crank it down because the threads are biting, and this stuff's pretty dense. So this is not, that's not going anywhere. And now what's cool is I installed it pretty level, before it had so much slop, it was able to like caulk and move, and now it's, well, it's not going anywhere. It's just the linkage is moving. Obviously the linkage is going to come off in the next video that I put. Okay, so that crossbar is gone, the linkage is gone. Now to do a nice job here with the, you know, I'm going to install some of these, which they sell. Hardware kit, put the pin through. If you wanted to save some money, I like a factory fit and finish and appearance and whatever, but if you really want to save some money, check this out. Little epiphany I had. See these pins? Oh, let's take one of these. See these pins? See that rod? You're not going to use that anymore, right? You're not going to sell it to anybody. Check this out. Got one right there. Just got to sharpen the end. Chop it there. Chop it down here. Then your other pin. It's right there. It's like they meant to do that. Weird. Yeah, you can just save the money. Drill a couple holes in there. With fucking luck. And it's stainless steel. But anyway, that works. Okay, so far, the time elapsed when the camera's off is not very long. But anyway, so now rather than having a long pin all the way through here that operates the mechanism, the linkage for the gate, which is controlled on this side. I'll turn my computer off. So I'm gonna get rid of this. So rather than it having the adjustability of the gate's fixed about 3/4 way up or whatever. Got rid of the pin. So now the pins that have always been here, that's basically the long rod. That's where it sits on now, the slots. So nothing here isn't reversible back to factory. There's no hacking. So if you want to hang the thing high, if you want to hang the thing lower, it's fine. But now you got a middle position. I'd have to measure again to be reminded of the position difference, but I think it's like, let's just say it's 16 inches. And what I did splits the difference at 8 inches. And even the top sits in further than it used to hang out a little bit, and the spinner was, you know, not parallel to the ground. It kind of annoyed me, and you were able to shake it back and forth. Now it's tight, so what I got to do now is get rid of this thing and then take this and put it there. And I got to make sure to do it where it's comfortable because it's a little bit tight, but that'll work. And then it'll sit at a pretty good height. I got I'd have to check. I don't know. I'll report in the next portion of the video how much sand I have in there, but I'm pretty sure I have a good amount. Yeah, so I still got plenty in there. I'm gonna, what is it, 1.5 yard hopper. That's gotta be a yard easy, probably a little more. Yeah, it's more than a yard. I believe the unit really, if you fill it level with like the grate, I think it's 1 3/4 technically, you know, volume wise. This seam right here, if it's level at that seam, I think it's 1 3/4. When you heap it over, it's 2. So it's got close to 1.5 in it. So it sits, you know, when it's got less weight, it sits higher. And when it's got more weight, it doesn't squat all that much. I have the stock leaf springs on a 2500 HD. This is an 04. They're good for, I think it's 2,035 pounds per side. And I put some leaf springs that are good for 3,200 pounds per side. And then I have the severe duty timbrins. And I think I watched him when they pour sand in it, 1 yard, the timbrins are like, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch from touching, maybe 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch. There's air between the timbrin and where it contacts on the rear axle housing. But now I got 20 inches. Anything less than that, you're asking for trouble backing into snowbanks and stuff. There you have it, mid-height mounted spinner. And everything is totally reversible, or just as is, you can put it in the top, mount it up or mount it lower. The only thing you can't do is adjust the chute, but if you don't mind taking the whole spinner off, where I put those stainless steel screws to hold the gate from moving, you could put screws at different heights or whatever on the gate, but I can't see really ever having to change that.